what I say before we go live. That was a close one.
Mike's a hot. Mike's a hot.
Hot mic. Almost had a hot mic moment.
Oh, I found it already. Look, I'm getting better, guys.
This
Share. Go to Discord.
this is gonna annoy me. Armand's seat is not feng shui. Feng shui.
How does he do it?
I don't like. I understand why he is so angry all the time now. He sits in this chair.
He just brute forces his
And
way
just
through
feel
the
the
chair.
rage like coming from this chair. It's the angry corner of the room. I thought it was the tight jeans for a while, just constricting the blood flow, but
Keep going. Keep going.
we got the Aperol spritzes today, so I'm gonna be
Yeah, thanks, bud. Thanks for bringing that.
I'm in talk shit mode.
I feel like we're in Positano right now.
Yeah.
Just on,
I mean, normally when I have like an Aperol spritz in hand, I'm just talking shit with the girls about something.
yeah.
So
Spilling the tea.
just getting all the tea, spilling the tea, drinking up the spilled tea, whatever one does with spilled tea.
All right, I'm almost done.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, you typing in the title?
Yeah.
You can type the title in Riverside, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're not that advanced.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Did we do the camera settings? Are we in 1080?
Oh, no. We didn't.
No?
We didn't do
Okay.
any camera settings.
Cool.
But I'm just going to presume that we are
I
not
love
in
that.
1080.
Wait, hold on. I gotta pull up.
we're
I gotta pull up the
updated.
stream.
We're hydrated.
Wait, I can't whistle on the mic. That's a bad idea. I have the Beatles stuck in my head for some reason.
Well, you're a good whistler.
I am a pretty good whistler, actually. Thank you for noticing.
Well, you're good at music.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can whistle.
I think they're positively correlated, though.
For sure. For sure. I don't see us on our page. Are we there?
Go to the lounge. Go
Are
to
we
the
there?
lounge.
I gotta go in the lounge?
Yeah,
Is
go
that
to
how
the
I have
lounge
to
in
do
the
it?
Discord.
You got to announce those.
Oh
Mickey.
man, it's like a scavenger hunt every time we go live.
Wonder why.
Damn it. I left my Zins in the car.
Wonder why nobody watches this live. In the
Oh,
lounge.
thank you, bud. Look at that touchdown. Touchdown.
What is the here tag? Is that different from the everybody tag?
It's like they're online versus everyone
Oh.
who's like.
That's you gotta tag everybody, man. Why are we constricting ourselves? Why does none of the lights work on this side?
Oh,
No, they turn off immediately. Well,
we got Jay in here. We got
Okay.
Corby, Mets.
Just give it like 2 seconds.
up,
it'll
boys?
turn off.
But I used to have this light on the other side and it worked fine.
Well, I turned it on
That's why I
about.
moved it here.
I turned it on like a minute ago and it turned off.
It's insane.
Okay.
I'm gonna tone down the intensity.
Yeah.
This is like a pre 5 p.m. Issue, not a post 5 p.m. issue.
Well, we're making it a first, but it's. Sorry, I can't talk.
All right, boys. Before we get started, you're drinking Aperol spritzes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. I don't know why I don't drink these more before the pod.
Because you do drink them all the time off pod.
It is a bit of like an expenditure relative to the Modelo, you know.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna be feeling good today.
And this is
Number goes up, so it's Aperol spritz
yeah,
day.
there's a treat
Number-
yourself.
Really?
moment.
Yeah. Treat yourself.
Is 6 full seconds of all time highs.
Congrats, everyone.
What a
to-
6 seconds
yeah,
it was.
That was glorious.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor before we get started. Go to ZBiotics.com/alfalfa.
You forgot.
I almost forgot. Use the code alfalfa at checkout to get 15% off the pre-alcohol. That's the genetically engineered probiotic that takes care of those nasty feelings in the morning after you drink.
You gonna pump fake me.
Yeah, pump fake you. Takes care of that nasty
Oh.
What's the nasty toxin, Eric?
Acetaldehyde.
Okay.
Acetaldehyde. When you drink, that's what wreaks havoc on your body. The dehydration is one thing, but you need to take care of the acetaldehyde to have a better morning. Still get your workout in, still get your work in. I saw Steven shooting one down, a pre-alcohol, before we got started.
Not a baby.
Yeah, they were roaming
I
around the office.
preemptively put one in my pocket at like 11 a.m.
Oh, you knew it was going to be a good day.
And I was driving here and I was like, fuck. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm a genius. I walked in, had one in there.
Well, your future self will thank you. So yeah, if you guys want to check it out, try it out. Go to ZBiotics.com/alfalfa. Use the code alfalfa at checkout to get 15% off. And if you don't like it, or for whatever reason it doesn't work for you, they'll give you your money back. Thanks, guys, for sponsoring the pod. All right,
Hell yeah.
we're dialed in. You do have a pretty strong tan going on, shorts tan line.
Does
going
that
on.
show up on the stream? Let us know, guys.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's
I gotta stop wearing shorts.
No, give the people what they want.
I'm trying to like figure out how to phrase this tweet when we're live here.
okay.
I said, new Alfalfa pod live now on YouTube. Mecha Hitler, all caps.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, that shouldn't get throttled at all.
Apparently, this is like a thing that gets boosted on X now, so
Okay.
maybe that's a little spicy. Whatever, I'm leaving it.
Well, Steven was so gracious to type up a headline for this video because we didn't do any planning for today's episode. We're gonna do a little freestyle live jazz.
Yeah. Where were
I
you
blacked out.
guys?
Well, I was recording. I was recording the Magic Lines video newsletter, and I was just lost in my bullishness. I was literally pulling up charts on screen. I was just screaming buy.
yeah.
I remember I had like the curve chart up, and I was like, we gotta buy here. This thing's we gotta.
Were you
so
just in the
excited.
Zoom by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were.
Yeah. I was like, hello?
Hello, anyone? Anyone show up? Yeah, sorry about that. Well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe call this a test.
By the way, I owe you a debt of gratitude.
For what?
Some of the best alfalfa I've ever learned is this combination of coffee and was it theanine?
L-Theanine.
L-Theanine.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like I don't drink coffee as much as I used to, and like I started drinking it again, and I was having like panic attacks when I
Right.
drank it. But I remembered your thing, and then I just started popping the theanine, and it just
It like takes the edge,
just
the jittery
smooths it
edge
out.
off,
Yeah.
and so you're like your body feels calm, but your brain is like your neurons are firing still.
That's kind of like what tea does to me. It's
Yeah.
like a smoother, like less of a sharp
like
peak.
testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah, tea.
The D-ball you've been injecting in your
Yeah,
right butt cheek.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a smooth, gradual increase of energy.
Well, I'm glad you like it. Have you been taking 2? Because I usually take double the dose it recommends.
I do that with everything. I'm
Yeah.
just like, nah, I'm special. I need twice the dose for this. with
Are you still
everything.
doing nicotine?
Yeah,
The gum, though?
the gum.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'm on like 2 pieces now, so I'm doing 4. I
You got rid of
still-
the gag reflex? That
Yeah,
comes
I
with-
stopped puking, which is good. I still don't feel addicted to it, which is weird.
Well, you're in step 0. Step 1 is realizing the addiction. So you'll be here for 2,
but,
3 years.
No, but I did like 4 a day, probably for the last like 15 consecutive days, and then I've just forgotten to do it the last 2 days. Nothing.
Okay.
I feel fine.
Good
Okay.
for you.
Good for you.
So you guys just you get like actual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cravings. is what
Yeah,
they're
I think
called.
they're called cravings.
Is it from the nicotine, or is there just something else in the Zyn? Like, that's
I mean,
what I always wonder.
one part of it could just be like habit forming, right?
like Pavlovian.
Yeah, Pavlovian.
I mean, I have habits, but like I don't feel like addicted to the habits. It's just like a craving. It's just like, oh, I want to do this thing, but I'm not like. It's not like I don't do the habit and then I curl
No,
up. On
it's
a ball
not. It's
on the
not actually
floor
that bad.
or
Like
anything.
I've done 2 weeks without it multiple times, and I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Okay, so
Yeah.
people are little crybabies, and
I mean,
that
it's not
addictive.
easy. Like for a couple days, it's uncomfortable. You're like, oh, this is weird. Like
I
But,
think
like,
nicotine.
what is the discomfort?
I think nicotine is addictive.
it's not like physical withdrawal symptoms. Right?
no.
yeah, it's like irritability. I would say is like the biggest one. You just feel like a little irritable.
Kind of like
I get irritable when the chart goes down. you
kind
know,
of like
that's- I'm not-
hangry maybe, because like if you are feeling a sensation of hunger but you don't like treat that, then you kind of just get like irritable.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like that,
Angry. Okay, I feel like that's a
because
that's a good one.
I think my craving is pretty mild. Like in the morning is my favorite Zyn, and sometimes I'll just be there and I'll be like, you know, it'd be nice right now, a little poop. But I don't always do that. Boop. And sometimes I don't do it, and it's fine too. But it's better with.
Yeah.
Boop.
Oh, speaking of random sound effects, did you see that Barstool video of the guy in the golf course who is drunk and gets into a fight with like a literal NHL
Oh,
enforcer?
I saw like the first part of the clip. I didn't watch the whole video, but he's like on the tee box, raging, yelling.
It's
What
amazing.
ends up
Can we-
happening?
Can we watch it?
Can we watch
Do
it?
have
I
the sound?
haven't
I
seen
think I
it.
have it queued up here. It's like amazing. Do you remember that like Boss Rutan guy
Yes.
who was going viral a long
Yeah.
time ago. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Now you've got the bangity bangity bang," and he would just kind of like punch people and do like the sound effects. That's what this reminded me of.
Wait, who's the enforcer? I'm a casual NHL fan.
Oh God, I forgot his name. Hold on, let me figure out how to work this laptop.
It's
we need you.
Inverted, right?
Okay, Trello's doing like one of these fucking pop-ups, and it's just blocking my view. Oh God, I hate. How do I close the pop-up?
It says refresh.
Oh, it's just forcing me. It was a non-optional pop-up. I see. Where is this thing?
Drunk dude picks fight.
There we go.
You guys need to get
No,
off
no,
the
no,
golf
that's not
course.
it. How do I open it on Twitter?
No, now.
Stop it. Stop it.
Back up.
Now
Sorry.
you're playing in 2
Sorry.
tabs.
Fucking it up here.
Oh God. Oh God.
Okay. Oh wait. Okay.
Enhance.
Enhance like zoom.
Back
Oh,
up.
big. Oh, okay.
Go
There we
now.
go. There we go from the
You guys
beginning.
need to get off the golf course. Yeah, we will, man. No, now.
pumped.
Like,
Is that the Barstool guy or the NHL guy?
now.
This is not the NHL guy.
Bingo.
He's not a Barstool guy either. He's just some random Canadian.
I don't.
Canadians
Hey.
love to drink and fight.
Come on, man.
He
Hey.
shoves him in the leg.
Pushes him in the leg.
Off to a good start, buddy.
Yeah.
Fucking told you. Man, leave me alone. You want to? You want one too? Scream at me. I got it all on record.
He's coming back.
He comes back.
He comes
I
back.
got it all on record.
Oh, he's about to. Oh, strike.
He's gonna eat it. Yeah.
Fucking go, guys.
He's literally punching him, saying "bang."
Hey.
Bang.
Enough! Are you still cheering on me? Enough!
He's like,
Finish him.
I didn't hear no bell.
Randy Marsh.
Fuck out of here!
The screen, there's a screen grab of him like just flying like that somebody did. It looks like it's from like Minecraft or something. Like,
Get outta here.
I love that he like helps him back to his cart. Like this is so Canadian. So in my time in Canada, this is what it was like a lot. It was like these like very casual fist fights that end in like just like a okay, somebody wins, somebody loses.
It's
but,
very
like,
hockey.
but like in America, it would never be like this.
It's like, no, I went and got a tire iron out of my car, and I'm gonna come.
Now I'm blasting bullets and stuff.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a hockey guy because like he does the shirt thing. He
Oh,
just
yeah.
gives
Yeah.
Shirt and
You're
just
right.
Bang, bang. Do you do that when you do jujitsu, Nick? Do you just go like
Muay Thai? No. No.
bang,
Bang.
Self-narration.
pow?
Ouch. Now there's weird guttural noises that come out.
Roundhouse.
Yeah. AB plus up down.
Oh wait, hold up. I know this. Wait, no, the blood code was
BABA.
ABAC ABB,
Okay.
and then the other one was like
What do you
up, down, down, left, right, left, right, select, start.
BABA select start.
BABA.
Oh,
That's
there's
Contra.
a BABA.
Contra.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
I know all the Doom ones still. IDDQD, IDKFA,
Wow.
ID Spiss Popped.
Spiz pop. That's a button.
Smashing pumpkins into small piles of putrid debris. The stuff I remember from when I was like 10 is incredible.
But you can't remember to pay your
Brain
car
was a
registration.
sponge. Yeah, now I can't remember shit. It's like I'll spend like 6 months learning a song on the piano. I don't practice it for like 3 days. Gone.
Did Doom
Gone.
ever come back?
They made like more advanced versions of Doom.
Is that like what Counter-Strike is essentially?
No, Counter-Strike's a totally different kind of game. Other than the fact that you are first-person shooting things, it's a very different game.
I had your brother give expert witness testimony to see if Elon Musk is actually a good game player, and he said negative.
No,
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
What? It was a scam?
He hired a guy to play for him.
To like beef up his character.
Yeah,
I forget what that's called, but
put
like,
in a ringer there.
yeah. And then he said he watched him play, and he's like, no,
No.
not good. And I was like, oh, okay.
So even the ringer's not good.
No. The ringer is
No, the
probably
ringer's
good,
good.
but like his gameplay looks maybe slightly above mediocre.
It's just the worst kind of fraud, like paying to level up your virtual game character.
Well,
And,
I've heard of
just-
like wealthy acquaintances of ours paying hundreds of thousands of dollars just to like
Okay, that's different.
game up their characters.
You and I know people who have literally spent like 6 figures leveling up characters in like mobile iPhone games.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
You guys do? You know people like that?
Yeah, like we know some of these. Like, you hear about these whales who spend like $100K on like an iPhone game. Yeah, like we know some of these people.
Yeah, there.
But that isn't fraud because like those games are they're just like pay to play, and you just buy stuff to kill other people, and that's it. Like what was he doing? Dota?
No, Diablo.
Diablo.
Diablo. Like Diablo's not pay to play. Like your ranking is supposed to imply that you're good at the game. So it's a totally different
see.
thing. It's a totally different kind of fraud. It's not cool. It's not cool.
Yeah, I don't like that he like took credit for it, like on a broad scale.
It may be the worst thing Elon has ever done, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well,
The only bad thing he's ever done.
I didn't say that.
you guys follow Dan Ives, the analyst,
Who dat?
stock analyst?
No.
Yeah.
He's I forget what his accent is. He's like definitely a New Yorker, East Coaster,
Yeah,
New Jersey. I don't know.
Sounds some kind of like spectrum.
But he's on
too.
CNBC a lot,
Like he's
Bloomberg
just
a lot.
talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm walking over here."
Kind of. He's like
middle.
AI. No,
AI?
he's been like hammering the AI thing
That like
for
JFK?
for quite a while. He says we're in like inning 2. He's been hammering all the like Mag 7, Nvidia, and a whole list of other 20 names. He's been pretty much on point, and he's been one of the biggest Tesla bulls. He has the highest price target on the street for Tesla,
What's his target?
$500.
Is that
Like
300?
for tomorrow?
I don't know, but that's what he's got.
Kathy Wood is calling for 3,000 or something.
Yeah, but she's not real.
500 by when?
I don't know. End of year.
I mean, end of year. Oh, that's like somewhat respectable at least. But the stock's $300
okay.
already.
The point is that he's a mega bull, right?
Okay.
And he has
Doesn't sound that
he's
way.
defended Elon all up until about 2 days ago, and then he finally comes to CNBC and he's like, the investors are getting tired, and he recommended that the board have oversight over his political activities and put guardrails on his comp based upon how much time he spends at Tesla. And there's one other thing.
This is bullshit.
Yeah, and but he's been the biggest bull, his biggest supporter. He's been like always backing his decisions, and now he's starting to get a little tired.
Dude, Elon hasn't made enough money for all of us at this point. Come on.
This is an interesting topic though, because like I want to be like balls long Tesla. Absolutely balls long. I think Tesla is like the sickest company ever. It's like this like magical intersection between all of the greatest technologies that are driving everything. It's a robot company, it's a freaking AI company. Got the richest, most powerful man in the world running it, who like owns all of his own media, like he's politically powerful, all this stuff, right? But like I just wake up and I see him tweet things, and I'm just like, the stock's gonna go down like 8% the next morning, and the stock goes down 8% the next morning, and it's just like
He even admitted, he's like, listen, Tesla is Elon, Elon is Tesla. So like we can't necessarily have him leave. We don't want him to leave, but we need to like kind of put his incentives in place to get back to
And
work.
I don't understand what he's doing. Like he's like, I'm going to create a third party. It's just like, yeah, cool, man. Like nobody's ever thought of that idea. It'll definitely work this time.
You see, Ron DeSantis gave him another proposal. He said, hey, instead of creating a third party, why don't you try to pass a balanced budget constitutional amendment? He was arguing that there's like already like 20-ish states who would sign on for it. You could use your political capital to just get this main issue that you say that's so important to
The
you. The deficit, and like pass a balanced budget amendment where you have to balance the budget by law every year, and use his political capital and his actual capital for just that, and hammer like, I don't know how many it takes for a constitutional amendment, probably 2/3.
2/3.
So he probably needs another like 15-ish or so states. Like go hammer your money on 15 of the most flexible states and accomplish that, and you'd have way bigger success. And it seemed pretty compelling versus starting a third political party. You know, what midterms are
Like-
or how long away?
Hold
Like
on.
I mean,
Who, like there's 20 representatives that would vote for a balanced budget? No way.
well, you know, you would get the states legislators to vote on it, and I think you need 2/3 of the states legislators to ratify the amendment. So you don't even involve Congress, but you don't involve anything federal,
So
as far as I know.
But the
I-
budget,
I think Congress still has to
Really,
pass it.
I haven't touched
I think it has
back
to
on
be
my
passed
civics.
by Congress and ratified by the states.
but the budget
Oh,
you're
okay.
talking about is not a state budget, state by
federal.
state. It's a federal budget.
Yeah, the states would pass an amendment that would, which
How
would be,
the fuck are we gonna have a balanced budget?
I don't know. I think like you could potentially like try to get something for like 2040, you know, and just say by 2040, you know, we need to do this, or it's got to be like a
How?
what do you mean how? You just make it law, and then they
No,
have
I
to
know,
cut.
but, like I just don't think we can get there.
This is never going to happen. I don't even think it's a good idea.
I don't think it's a good idea either.
I don't think it's a good idea either. I think if it was, they should be allowed to have some deficit. but like maybe a cap would be good. I guess that was the debt ceiling.
Yeah, the debt ceiling is just something that we just revisit every so often.
I
But
remember
anyway-
the first time they made the debt ceiling, it was like, oh my god, and then everybody's now.
What
it's
was
just like, oh.
Buffett's thing? It was like you can't run for re-election if the budget isn't balanced. As a like that law would be
Yeah, that's
the law.
interesting.
No one would ever actually vote for that, but like
Yeah, yeah.
you could say, okay, starting in 2050, when we live out our next like 15 years of our career, you could just set a little ticking time bomb.
So the reason why you don't think it's a good idea to have a balanced budget is because, here's me presuming, is because we live in a debt-based system where we need some sort of debt or deficit in order to grow, and we've kind of like pigeonholed ourselves into this place where we can't even like
Not
reverse
not
it.
even that. Like imagine like Nick, you own a company. What if you had like an incredible opportunity to grow and it was like illegal for you to borrow more money than you could like serve? Like it doesn't make
We
any
don't
sense.
need to have a balanced budget because of our, you know, the power of our economy, the strength of the dollar, whatever. But it would be nice if the budget was like 3% during a non-recessionary, non-war time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a limit to this, but like governments are not businesses. Even businesses don't necessarily like have to have balanced budgets. In fact, in the early days, like there's no startup that runs with a balanced budget, right? They literally call it the burn rate, right? That's what happens.
Who's there's a guy in the movie Big Short. He's kind of the main character. I think the character's name is like Mark Bauman or something. Well, anyway, the real guy in real life, he shows up on CNBC one time.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
is
saw
that,
him.
is that Steve Carell's character?
Yeah, Steve Carell's character. And I think the real guy's name is Steve Eisman, I think. And he had a great quote. He said, budget hawks or being so like stressing the importance of a balanced budget is Wall Street's version of virtue signaling. Like people go on and be like, we're in such a debt crisis. We have to balance the budget. I'm like, no, I think we should even more balance the budget. Like I'm the biggest fiscal hawk ever. No, I'm even more. And it's like their version of virtue signaling. It's like their guilt of the Cantillon effect.
It's like libertarian virtue signaling.
They're so guilty about being so close to the money printer and how it's just like rocketed their financial assets that they like balance their emotional budget by being a fiscal hawk virtue signaler. I love that.
You could also say it's like what if by spending enough money you could basically create like AGI and like ultra advanced robotics, and you had like such insane productivity that like the very need for like money itself became kind of like an antiquated concept. Like imagine like robots just become so accessible, AGI is so accessible, productivity goes through the moon, people just spend most of their time doing leisure, and it's just like, okay, what do you even need money for at a particular point? You would look back on this and be like, wow, that was like really dumb. We short-circuited our way to get to like a post-scarcity world because of some like arbitrary conception of like how governments work that isn't even correct, right? Like the MMT people, like as much as they get shit on, have been like the best like predictors of everything in the economy and the markets for the last like 5 years. And there's like the complete opposite end of that. So I think that's like interesting to.
It would be useful if like the government was just this massive leaky bucket of like you put $100 of taxpayer dollars in and like $1 goes to actual like productive, assets, and we get a return on our GDP on it. That it would be nice if it wasn't
the government's a series of buckets.
Series of leaky buckets.
A series of leaky buckets.
It's a series of tubes. Well, anyway, we're certainly in the era of debasement. I think that's gonna persist. Feels like we've been preparing for this moment, boys. I feel well prepared.
We've been talking about this moment since the pod started. We had a big left turn, obviously, with the whole Jerome deciding he was gonna just shut it down.
Yeah,
shut down the club for a couple of years, but as Lynn Alden's been saying, nothing stops this train.
Darius Dale, in one of his his monthly report that he does, he had a good little framework. He was like, listen, the Trump's administration idea was to cut, grow, print. They're definitely not going to cut, right? Doge was a failure. They showed by this bill, they're not going to cut. Okay, now they're in grow, and they're going to do fiscal stimulus. They're going to deregulate. And he's like, trust me, they have a good track record of when they want to juice the economy. They know how. He goes back to 2017, shows they can do that. But he's like, it may not be enough. So the next stage is we print. And he's like, you're going to see, monetary and fiscal largesse is how he describes it. So we're going to get a double whammy here, maybe.
So Trump was president during 2020.
For
printed-
2016 to 2020.
Yeah.
essentially.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 2021 was like the big money printing.
That was like, we already printed at the end of Trump's presidency. And then
That's BBB V1.
Biden was like, wait a second, you're telling me under the auspices of a pandemic, we can pass every left social leaning issue that we want to fund? Great, let's do it. The IRA, there was like the infrastructure bill, and I think there was a third one. And it just like,
Right.
and
Chips?
chips is the, oh,
Is that
maybe
part
that is
of-
a separate one. Yeah, maybe that was it.
I lump them all together. I can't keep track anymore.
Trillions and trillions.
So are you thinking that 2021 is going to look like Child's Play?
No, I don't know. Like that was putting money in people's pockets, direct transfer payments. That was unique and special. We're all old enough to remember George W. Bush was like, don't let the terrorists win. Here's a stimmy check, and like sent everyone like $500 or something. This was way bigger than that. And I don't know if we'll see direct transfer payments.
Oh, we'll see direct transfers.
You think
again.
so?
Oh God, yeah.
In the form of stimulus
You think
checks
the
or some
government
other.
did something, and they're like, "Wow, we did that thing. We should never
Apparently,
do that again."
apparently it helps with votes.
Yeah, no, it's like they're like, as soon as the government does something, we're like, "Oh, we did that," and nothing too bad happened.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if he'll do it, but it definitely broke. It felt like it broke a seal. They were like, "Oh, this is another."
Already
toolkit.
starting to do that. He already did it last time with like the tariffs, right? Like he kind of broke particular important industries that may have voted for him, and so basically just gave him money on the side, the farmers or whoever.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that same thing will happen again. And then look, we're at the doorstep of AGI and robots and just massive job loss. So of course they're gonna just. I mean, this is the fork in the road. There's gonna maybe like one party that's like, no, we're gonna stop all of this from happening, and then maybe like another group of people go like, no, we have to let this happen, but we have to just hand people buckets of cash so that they don't riot.
He also said in this presentation that don't get it wrong, like growth is slowing. Like total income earned per person is like steadily declining, whether that's through like job loss or just like less hours worked. He's like, that is happening. But he's like, don't think for a second that like one, Jerome Powell's going to ruin his legacy by letting it go into recession. And two, don't think that like Trump and Besant are going to let us actually go into a real recession.
Okay, I agree with that.
Using all the levers at play.
I agree with that. So knowing that markets do move in cycles and like a bubble could be forming now, and we could be like, I started in the middle of a bubble, right? Like in like
That's true.
1998, 1999. That was like one of the best bubbles ever. The internet, the .com bubble.
Oh man, we dominated those elementary school stock picking contests. Everyone beat like a current money manager
I'm a little
today.
older than you. I wasn't in elementary school, but but I remember being in the game at that time, and I remember how glorious it was. I can kind of see parallels to now, like that sort of like 97, 98 time frame where like things are about to get real.
You're like
fun.
2.5 years before the ish.
I'm just saying that like maybe we do run something crazy, unexpected to the upside, and then markets do move in cycles.
Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna be so euphoric. It's gonna still be hard to like understand if we are or
I was
not.
trying to
But
pull
like,
up a chart, and we're not logged in the trading view.
What does
Sad.
Euphoria look like under like a bubble framework? Like if this thing actually turns into like total euphoria, like what is Bitcoin price?
that's a good question.
500K.
Oh, that really?
600K?
That high? No fucking way. No fucking way. Really?
No fucking way. This is how we go this high, actually, because like if
Because there's still someone saying no fucking way.
Yeah,
and
of
until
course.
what is it? Until the Uber driver and the 7-Eleven cashier.
I mean,
once they're-
my over under for Bitcoin right now is probably like 300K, which I think is
That's like
Higher
you're
than-
setting odds at Vegas at 50-50.
yeah.
300K.
Okay. And can you maybe give me a feeling if Bitcoin is 300K, the ETH BTC ratio is
0.07.
Oh, baby.
Perfect.
Oh, baby. Sorry, I just came.
No, so I think like 300K Bitcoin, 20 something K ETH is like the Euphoria scenario.
I am not ready. Like I'm just not like.
I'll sell before. I'll sell before. Like I know I will.
Holy shit! I'm in the green.
I mean, ETH is definitely set up for everybody to sell it like way too soon for sure.
Eric was just mentioning that before he got in. He's like, do you think everyone's so traumatized from the last 4 years that like it peaks just above all-time highs, gets in like the $5,000 range, and people are just like, thank God I'm fucking out.
I think a lot of people already sold it at this point, honestly.
You said you was it last episode you were saying you were looking at the on-chain in profit loss, and it still was like
the MVRV or whatever.
Yeah,
for
yeah, I
ETH.
think that's it.
Yeah, it was like 1.
What does that mean? Like break even essentially?
Yeah, it's like nothing. It's like nothing, and it dipped negative, like that nuke in the spring where it went down to 13 or 14 or whatever. Was like it dipped like pretty negative. And that ended up being like the mega buy signal, but it was hard to buy there because like look, objectively at the time it looked so bad, and my main hang-up with ETH was kind of in the personnel behind it. Like so like one of the reasons I was bullish about ETH to begin with was I was like, oh, it can sort of like leverage the ability for like CEO type humans to like make decisions and like evolve faster than Bitcoin. But the other side of that coin is if you get like fucking retards doing it, then like it just drives it off a cliff and then sorry. And then it works like very much against you. So, you know, the big thing for me was when I not just the price action, but like I saw that there was like an obvious vibe shift, and it took like everybody just capitulating and doing it, just a lot of anger.
You see our buddy David Hoffman wrote an article, I think it might have been last night, he posted it, and he was basically saying like, hey, listen, I've obviously been not as bullish ETH, and it's good that the institutions are buying all the coins out there. That's great. And there is like a vibe shift, a personnel shift in the Ethereum Foundation. That's good. He's like, but I just want to remind everyone, we still have these issues where not all of the usage on chain in these L2s actually accrues to ETH the asset. And he kind of spelled out a few reasons. I think it was a good post, a good time to post, because like we're all getting excited, but he's like, no, we still haven't fixed some of these like core issues. We need to make the L1, you know, actually great again and make sure that value accrues to ETH the asset.
Yeah, that's fair, but I think that shift has already happened. I think there's like just consensus on that at this point. And I think the market has like sniffed that out.
But I also don't think that matters that much for price to move either.
Correct. Probably. Well,
I think it matters
a
lot.
The type of buying we're getting now is different, right? It's not the burn, it's not usage, it's just there's more demand for.
Exactly. I mean, it's the same with Bitcoin. Like there's no activity on Bitcoin chain whatsoever. It's just people buy it because they want to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is something David said. He said, you know, the perfect ETH shill needs 2 parts, like amazing shilling charisma and then the financial engineering skills. And he's like, Saylor has those. Like he's got the charisma to shill it. He has all the financial engineering tools and skills to pump his bags. And like, I don't really feel like we have both of those combined into one. Maybe Tom Lee is one of those. He can somewhat charismatically shill. Joe Lubin probably has the financial engineering tools, but he's not quite the charismatic shiller.
Saylor is very underrated. I think Bitcoin is like 60K without Saylor.
I think MSTR showed the playbook on how to use reflexivity in a positive way to your advantage. So like now ETH is running that same playbook. People are copying, and I think we're going to have like the same dynamic.
Tom Lee mentioned something I never heard before about the power. One benefit of these treasury companies. He says that they could actually be, and maybe this is more Bitcoin treasury, but they could actually be an interesting takeout target, like acquisition target. So he says,
I heard that. That was an interesting point.
Yeah, I never heard of it. So he basically said, okay, let's imagine.
But it only kind of applies to Ethereum.
I think it only applies to Bitcoin because his example was, let's say a treasury company gets to 1 million Bitcoin. And there's a nation state out there that would like that 1 million Bitcoin. So what's it going to go do? Go bid in the order book for a million Bitcoin and shoot the price up, or just acquire the assets of this treasury company
Yeah,
at
it's-
market price in one
Well, it's,
swoop.
no, you pay a premium either way, but at least you do this like easier. It's like much
Okay.
easier.
This,
to
this is
acquire
this
on
is
top
more
of it.
compelling in Ethereum because in a world where Ethereum starts to just secure like massive amounts of value, like say you're like Goldman Sachs and you've deployed Goldman Sachs coin, you've deployed it on your L2, it's running on Ethereum, and suddenly like you've got trillions of your own stable coin on this. You now have this like vested interest in like kind of owning like a part of the network. Effectively,
You want to validate those transactions yourself.
Yeah,
right?
you want Ethereum for your own business practices, right? Versus like if you are Goldman Sachs and it's Bitcoin, it's just like, right? So this is like a nation state like acquiring a Bitcoin treasury company versus like a huge bank like acquiring like an Ethereum treasury company because they have business. They're like a lot like that to me is like way more plausible.
Yeah, so that was another part he said is like another suck compared to Bitcoin treasury companies is that, like Steven said, if you got $1 trillion in stable coins, whatever, you're going to want to validate the network, be a participant. You need ETH to do that. He also was obviously saying just the yield you can generate by being part of it and playing in DeFi. And I think he's got a pretty compelling like 5-point case.
But there's nothing that like instantiates Ethereum as like the network for stablecoins. It's the predominant one.
I mean, there's a lot that instantiates it.
Not if you don't care about decentralization.
I mean, like stablecoins are a network effect game, like a lot of other things. The network effect is just like enormous. And then Ethereum also has this thing that it can offer to people, which like nothing else can offer, which is like, hey, you can simultaneously run your own L2 and have like control over everything, but then also have it built on this sort of like credibly neutral like base layer that doesn't exist anywhere else. It's like the only game in town.
And make profit from your L2 in addition.
Yeah, it really is like a very unique pitch. So I think there's like tremendous barriers to entry there, to be honest. And you know, I think this new narrative that they're pitching Ethereum as like the base layer for stable coins is smart, and I think that works. And like you already see that Wall Street likes the stable coin, and they bid circle up to just outrageous valuations. For no
TradFi
fucking reason.
loves stablecoins.
So
They're like, I get it. I don't get the other shit. I get this one. I'm in.
yeah, and I don't know why TradFi gets certain things and not other things, but they seem to get that. So yeah, go with that.
I'm curious when we're going to see like a Degen Ethereum treasury company. They're like,
What does that look like?
well, okay, you're getting a 3% yield by validating. Well, I'm going to get 15% yield by name your,
Go 3 times
How are you going to get a 15% yield
Levered.
from validating?
a 3% yield from validating.
Yeah, but how are you going to get 15?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're going to go further along the risk curve, and maybe it'll be like,
what do
oh,
they what do they call that when you like borrow against your holdings and then stake that and borrow
no,
it again?
not even, not like the.
I mean,
What do
you
they
can
call that?
lever up your staking. Like you can recursively borrow
Yeah.
staked ETH to stake ETH, but like you can't get to 15.
But what if they're like farming? They're part of some liquidity pool. They're gonna lend it out. Like name all the things we did 4 years ago.
I don't think it's that appealing because like, who the fuck cares over like 3% versus 7 or 8% when like really like
Wall
the
Street.
Yeah.
no Wall Street. No, I don't think Wall Street cares because Wall Street is good at like sussing out like risk on rates, right? And it's just like you're putting this like catastrophic explosion risk alongside a thing that's like probably going to go up 50 to 100% a year for the next like 5 years anyway.
Dude, if we're
It
talking
just
like
makes no sense.
we're talking like bubble territory, like of course this shit's gonna come into play.
I would bet a lot of money that if some treasury company comes into prominence and their main shtick is that they lever up the yield, like I just don't think anybody cares about that like to a particular extent.
Because my next question is, I'm waiting for the first one to be like, well, we sustained a 30% treasury loss because there was a issue with the smart contract and fucking cow token protocol, and people are like, wait, what?
Okay, so speaking of these treasury companies, are you guys dabbling? This feels like the next or like the current meta right now in
it's
crypto
definitely
world.
meta.
I bought the peak or near the peak of SBET. I think my average entry price is like $50.
Yeah, I'm underwater.
But
I'm underwater.
I went in on the options
Same.
last couple days.
Same.
You can tell they're ATMing hard. Like I looked today and SBET, like SBET was up like 28% yesterday. Today it was up like 3% when ETH was up like 7%. And I think they're just
So
just
why
ATMing.
don't you explain what the at the money facility is, and then Eric had some insight into like the daily
they're like
patterns.
the TLDR. They're just like issuing new shares, using the shares to buy more Ethereum.
Yeah.
Which is good. Like the market has already decided that this is good and desirable because it increases the amount of Ethereum you have per share. And this is kind of like the thing that MicroStrategy figured out, which is that like you as like an individual can't like leverage the sort of financial vehicles that a corporation can to like borrow money. Like, oh, you want to lever up on Bitcoin? You use perps, you get liquidated. You borrow money against some collateral, you get liquidated. Maybe you ask your mom for money. I don't know. It's not very efficient. But you can have Saylor use these like advanced financial instruments by virtue of the fact that he's like a publicly traded company.
Monetize the vol.
Buy more of Bitcoin for you, and then you get more Bitcoin per share over time. And that's the sort of the thing you're optimizing for. And in the short run, it looks like sucky sometimes because Bitcoin goes up and MSTR goes up less. But like, and I'm still trying to model out like how this actually ends up playing out, because in the long run, it makes sense that actually MSTR just outperforms Bitcoin, and it has by a lot. But you go through these periods where they're like diluting the fuck out of you to get more Bitcoin, and then, you know.
So
Yeah.
what did you know? You were telling me earlier what you noticed about just the last couple of days of like SBET and how when they're issuing these shares during the day. What were you saying?
Well, like you can take today, for example, like in the overnight trading where there's like low liquidity, you see people bidding it up. It went up to $19.70 a share when it opened. And then intraday, it's down to $15.50. And who do you think's selling that? It's fucking Lubin and co, who are like
issuing more shares.
like they're slapping the ATM facility to sell their shares to buy more Ethereum, which, as Steven mentioned, is actually great for you as an SBET holder if the underlying goes up in price over a long term, which is like what we're sort of betting on to begin with.
So I guess the pattern may not hold, but like ideally, if you're going to buy some, maybe middle of the trading day, like after they hammer that thing.
Yeah, and Carney out of Chris pointed out too. He's like, so should we just buy options like midday, and then sell them in the morning?
There's some quant out there who has this nailed down to a T for sure. There's probably like all sorts of insane kind of trading strategies that are enabled by these things.
You're doing some of that, right? Like,
I mean, I think the best way for me is I want to be exposed to SBET, right? So the way that I am doing is like I hold the common. I bought a lot of common when it was at $45 a share, so I was down immediately. But now I'm like I'm selling puts. I'm selling puts on SBET, some in the money, some at the money, some out of the money. I'm taking those proceeds. I'm buying common shares with it, or I'm buying calls with it because I just want more exposure. I mean, I want more shares.
that's your go-to strategy.
That's my whole thing. It's always been my thing. Like you got to pick the winners. Like it only works if you pick the winners. But like this is a way to really juice the hell out of the fruit if you pick a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to think about like how this cycle is going to be different from other cycles. Like obviously last cycle we didn't have treasury companies. It's just like entirely new, very large thing in the market, right? It's like you're in the pool and some like enormous fat guy just cannonballed in, right? And you're thinking about like, well, how does this change the environment in the pool here? Like you used to be able to just buy altcoins and they went up, right? And they're all kind of interchangeable to an extent, and it's just so different now. I think like so many altcoins are just going to be just horrific investments. You know, maybe they slightly go up in dollar terms, but like volatility adjusted and on a relative basis, they're freaking terrible. It's probably still like just like generational like pair trade opportunities and a lot of these things as they just slowly unlock.
Well, another thing that you see is that with a lot of these new treasury companies that are sprouting up, they're all following the same pattern too, where they like issue their like S3 filing, where they have like a low float to begin with, and then they're going to come out with like a ton of new shares that they're going to issue to buy the treasury asset like ETH. And they typically all follow the SBET pattern, which is like moon until the shares get issued and then crush downward, and then that's the time where you want to buy them. So like Bitminer, which is like Tom Lee's, went up to 160, and you know, today it's at 50 or something, and I think it'll continue to go downward because like it's going through that same process.
So you're waiting for MNAV to get to like 1.5 ish, I assume.
I mean, here's the thing with I think MNAV is the right metric to look at.
And this is the value of the stock relative to the value of the underlying holdings in the treasury.
Right, right.
So if it's 1.4, they've got like $100 million, the stocks are worth 140 million, and then they have like 100 million in
Ether.
Ether, and you typically have to pay this premium because they're continuously adding to their ETH per share metric. So it's actually fair if you like pay a little bit of a premium and they're continuously adding to their ETH per share. There's like some reasonable amount that's fair. I think like you probably get good value at 1.2, 1.3, reasonable value at 1.4, 1.5. I think reasonable like SBET's probably at like 1.9 right now, and I still think that's pretty reasonable.
You want to say something first?
Yeah, I was saying like SBET tickles my nerd brain because like MSTR always as soon as I realized what MSTR was doing, it was like very interesting to me, and I never quite went all in on it because it was like early December when I figured this out, and it was just like astronomical.
The thing had already gone up by 1,000%.
Yeah, but I was fascinated by it. Like I totally understood what Saylor was doing, and I don't think other people did. And I liked that, but then also I was like, it's just kind of, it's a weird time. It's too expensive. But SBET is even more interesting because you have like all these other games you can play because like Ethereum has like the built-in yield. Like for example, if you hold Ethereum and it has like native yield, right? You can sort of do this like leverage staking thing in DeFi, right? Where you borrow ETH against your staked ETH and you kind of do it. And obviously there's like smart contract risk in that, but like I feel like in TradFi world you could just have somebody do that.
Sure.
And yeah, like you could use insurance, or you could just not do it with like DeFi protocols. Like you just do it like just
You could have your consensus employees potentially just create that.
Yeah, so
contract
maybe you can lever that yield up to like 7%, but then you have this like inherently like 7% yielding asset, and then you're using all the yield to buy more stuff and doing all this stuff. So there's like all these like interesting games you can play with it, and then you can kind of like assign multiples to that and whatnot. So it's pretty fascinating to think about all the directions it could play.
Can we talk about position sizing? Because right now, like let's say out of 100% of my Ether exposure, it's like 90% ETH or ETH, like common stock of an ETF, and then the rest of the 10% is call options on ETH, and then there's a small amount of like SBET.
Are you talking about position sizing because a certain person in our Discord went all in?
So
on
yeah,
his,
we've learned that we have
made 26% in one day.
We have listeners that have been full porting potentially the retirement account into casual Degen stock mentionings on this podcast. And,
by the way, he's retiring at the end of the year.
Well, he can for sure now. I mean, just full port the retirement account and thing goes up 40-something%.
26% in a day is pretty good on your whole retirement.
Well, that was one day. Now it's up. It's up like 50% for sure.
Yeah. So I don't feel comfortable with that personally. I don't
So you
want my wife and future kids to leave me.
Bet sizing in general.
Yeah, I mean, like, part of me is like, well, fuck, like, are we not, as convicted as we are, like, I still have like a control over the sizing of like the whole crypto portfolio in general.
I mean, you are a little bit of a pussy, I think.
No, yeah, and I feel good about it.
Yeah,
I feel comfy.
Also guilty as charged. I am such a pussy. When I saw what our listener did, I was like, God damn it, I'm such a bitch.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd be curious what you guys think about it, because part of me is like, maybe there should be a fat pitch fund where it's still a small position of your total, but it's only goes to one bet, and it's ideally a high beta version of that bet. I don't know. Curious what you guys think about in general. Like, you're obviously more comfortable with concentrated risk than Eric and I are.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand how to manage risk, obviously. And this is like dude, one of the most common questions I get all the time is, how much leverage do you use? So like, are you 3x? Are you 10x? Are you 20x? And then I've answered this question like 1,000 times. And like the question I always give is like, it doesn't matter how much leverage you use. Like you can go bankrupt using 1.5x leverage. You can be totally fine using 20x leverage, because what matters is like, how much drawdown are you tolerating on that leverage? Like, do you have a stop loss? Like, or is your stop loss just fucking zero? Like your stop loss probably shouldn't be zero. Yeah, like what matters is like, how much am I willing to lose to make this bet? And like, however much you have to lever up to make that, you know, if you're like, I'm going to risk like 10% of my, like, I want to really swing for the fences. I think ETH is going to go to 20K and this price is very attractive. And I was saying this to people, and I've been saying this to people in Magic Lines for like weeks, you know, because I was just like, look, you just buy, you know, at the time it was, you know, 21, 22. It's like, you can buy this thing for 22, 23.
2,300, yeah.
Your downside is like 10 or 15%, 10%. It's like an easy stop. And then your upside is like 10x, maybe more. It's just like such an amazingly attractive like opportunity. So if you wanted to take one of those situations, like every 4 years or so, and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna risk like 10% of my portfolio on it. Like, I think it's like a legitimate thing, and like 10% of your portfolio is a lot to risk. Like if your portfolio is entirely stocks, because that's like an entire year of returns.
Right.
But even then, it's not that bad. Like if you really have that much conviction in something, and you're like, no, I know this is gonna work. Like you can do 10 and just wipe out a year, and just call
or
it a day.
if you're risk managing appropriately, it sounds like the way you're framing it, you're betting 10% to potentially lose 1%, right? Because you're gonna, if your stop loss is 10%, your worst case in that bet is negative 10%.
I mean, like, I don't know, like my entire perp account is probably levered up like 5x right now on Ethereum, right?
But you're using that for capital efficiency,
Yeah.
not necessarily like.
But I'm not like risking the whole perp account. That's not how it works. Like I'm risking some percentage of the portfolio. It's just like, I'm willing to risk that. This is like a, you know, if I take like a scalp, like I'll risk like 1%, right? You can't really risk too much more than that when you're taking these little trades. But like when you take these like very high conviction swing trades that play out over a long time, and you have like extremely high confidence in, like if I take a scalp, like I can never have more than like 60% confidence in it, right?
Right.
But some of this stuff, like what is your conviction that Bitcoin doesn't go to 50K over the next like 3 years? It's probably pretty high. It's probably pretty high.
I don't know. It's still possible in my head, but yeah.
But what would you put the odds on that Bitcoin goes to 50K in 3 years?
I don't know. Sub 30, greater than 15. I don't know. Some 15 to 30%.
Yeah,
for me.
it,
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 30% chance. So you're 70% chance. So that's pretty juicy.
Right.
So if you had like a kind of chunk of your portfolio where you're like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go 2x long here, it's probably a good bet. Like provided that when that goes awry, you lose, you know, X amount, because there's like a high degree of confidence in that.
It's funny when you talk to like professional traders and you mention leverage, the first thing they bring up is like the risk management portion of it, and then you talk to like Degen people and they're like, well, you could go from 10x would be good, but if I did 20x, I would make more money.
The power of leverage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right now, like I have like a few buckets of my investments, right? I got like my real estate stuff, boring. I got my stocks, which is mainly like tax smart S&P 500, boring. I have my long-term crypto portfolio, which is boring. And then I have like a play account, you know, my Schwab account where, you know, it's, I don't know, not even 5% of everything, you know, much less. And I can get out all my like, you know, all my like
Your demons.
yeah, my demons out on it, you know, and just get, you know, scratch the itch. And that I like that. But like maybe there should be this other one that's just like a fat pitch bucket. And it's like,
because it's like it's not really like an itch if it's like if it's a
tiny
really,
amounts at a time.
if it's a good thing, you don't want to just scratch the itch. You want to actually like go for it.
right.
I also think in general, like people don't use leverage enough. Yeah, this is gonna be one of these Steven moments.
Go on.
Like people have done studies on this with like even something as basic as a stock portfolio. Like if you add small leverage to a stock portfolio over the course of like multiple decades,
like
you
1.2x or something.
you just like outperform wildly, right? And I'm not talking about going like 10x, but like if you have like a Bitcoin, say you have a Bitcoin stash, it's 5 or 10% of your portfolio. Why the fuck wouldn't you go 1.2x leverage on that Bitcoin stash? Like, what's the very worst case scenario that you have to like move
Well, I guess
3% of your collateral over from your stocks to like temporarily cover the position?
Yeah.
Like, it's just but then the upside is you gain like a lot over like a long run, right?
I don't know. 2022 was fucking ugly. I think we forget that like
80% drawdowns are real, which
Like,
in that
if
case,
you have 5% of your portfolio in Bitcoin,
I
and
know, but,
Bitcoin
like-
goes down 80%, and you have to fully collateralize the whole thing, you have to move 1% of the rest of your fucking
but like
portfolio
during
over
that
to save the
time,
position.
like it wasn't just Bitcoin. It was like Meta dropped by 70%, Nvidia dropped by 70%.
Sure, but if your stock portfolio drops by 50%, you have to move over 2% of your stock portfolio to collateralize the Bitcoin position.
you're also assuming like no behavioral biases along that drawdown. Like they're not gonna, get scared and
I'm
fearful.
not adjusting for you being a fucking moron. I'm saying like mathematically speaking, like it makes a lot
Kill
of sense
yourself.
to use. It makes a lot of sense to use like baby leverage on a lot of stuff. It really does. And I think that like the time that we are living in is especially good for that because like we don't live in a free market anymore, and our financial overlords just decided that we're just not going to have recessions anymore. So, and they're just going to print money.
I like taking isolated leverage with the options place. Like you know exactly how much you can lose when you go like a long or call option.
Do you ever calculate like it in terms of leverage? You're like, okay, I'm putting, let's say, $1,000 or something in here. That equates to this much notional amount. So technically, my leverage is, or do you not look at it like that?
No,
at
I
all?
do, but I kind of do it in reverse. I look to see how much I want, like in terms of allocation, and I see like what's the cheapest way I can get there.
Got it. So you're like, okay, I want $500,000 of this position. Which option can I buy that gets me there in the cheapest way?
Yeah, and like of course you have to take into like probability into account because like of course you could go like way out of the money, but
Yeah.
I kind of want to do something like reasonable.
Yeah. Options are cool because you can't liquidate your account. Like, well, depending on the options you do, you
Time
definitely
liquidates
can,
you, my friend. Time.
but you can't like liquidate your account like buying calls.
Right.
You
Right.
just like the worst case scenario is the call goes to zero and you lose that money.
Selling calls, on the other hand,
I mean, selling calls
you
on
can absolutely
Bitcoin,
liquidate the
you know,
entire.
You can,
but even
liquidate
then, only if,
beyond
they're
your account.
only if it's uncovered too.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I'm not going to own Bitcoin, I'm just going to sell calls on it, then you deserve to have no money because that's just like reverse
From dumb
reverse
hands to smart
asymmetry.
hands.
It's that like don't do that. That's ridiculous. Can I get your take on something that Jonah Van Borg tweeted?
Yeah, let's see.
Let me see.
Who's Jonah? Is that a Bitcoiner?
He's like he's on the 1000X podcast. He's like an oil guy.
You forgot to save it.
I forgot to save it. Fuck. Maybe I can look at now. Anyway, I can
you can look it up.
I can summarize it. We don't have the login here.
Okay.
I'm so good at saving things. Actually, it might be on my phone. I'll probably just read it. No, I like Jonah. I think he's kind of mid on crypto, honestly, but he's great.
Kind of like self-admittedly is.
Yeah.
He's like, listen,
He's an oil trader.
I'm an oil trader. Yeah, I'm just.
It's like you're a really good chef, and then people are like, "Can you farm?" It's like, well, no, But let me see. Where's his thing? There it is. Come on, where's your tweet, bro? Where's your tweet, bro?
He tweets too much.
This guy tweets a lot. Goddamn. Oh, here it is. SPX is the new USD. BTC is the new SPX. Cash is trash. Optimal portfolio: 70% SPX, 30% BTC, 0% USD.
He sounds trad because he's going 70-30 in the wrong direction.
He is for sure. That's boomer shit. I mean, like the kind of baseline principle that the S&P 500 is cash, is like that's how I've mentally operated forever, right? And that's probably a product of being in crypto, where you're just like you're taking these like 80% drawdowns. You're like, oh yeah, stocks, like it's basically cash. Like, what's the worst case scenario? It goes down 30% for like a couple months, and then they save it.
Yeah, a lot of people actually look at stocks as gambling, like even today.
So is the idea that like you need to have it in stocks in order to outpace inflation, or just why wouldn't you just take this risk in general? Like what's the thinking behind
Okay,
his framework?
Stocks are basically cash. So one of the charts I wanted to pull up, which I think is a very fascinating chart, is the chart of the S&P 500 versus M2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've
the
seen
money
this one.
supply.
And
Yeah.
you've probably seen this chart.
It's flat.
It's flat.
Yeah.
So it is cash. Like that is the new cash, because all of the gains in the S&P 500, they're an illusion, right? Like everybody's like, how I can't afford anything. Why is everything so expensive? And they play this game where you see like number going up on things and people think that they're getting richer, but actually everybody's just being slowly made poorer, unless you own like Bitcoin and like a select few like tech companies. And then like everything else is like, obviously like Mag 7 has done very, very, very well.
Right.
But like Mag 7 accounts for like a huge chunk of all the outsized gains of the NASDAQ. Like it's all concentrated in
The
the
Mag 7 represents, I think, 50% of the NASDAQ in terms of weight.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I think Nvidia is like 4 or 5%.
Yeah, it's different for S&P and
Oh,
for
yeah.
NASDAQ.
Okay.
So I think it's like 25% of the S&P.
Well, it's funny you mentioned this. Like, I think everyone's heard 60-40's over, stocks, bond, that's done. I think Darius Still has had, what is it, like a combination of like 60% stocks, 20% or 30% gold, and 10% Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then Paul Tudor Jones was like, they were asking him, like, so what's your portfolio? He's like, I don't know. Over the next like handful of years, seems like stocks, Bitcoin, and gold is like a good like basket to choose from. And then Jonah's coming around too. Seems like we're gaining
he's
momentum here.
He's kind of got the right idea, but then he's like S&P is cash, and then his next thing is like put 70% of your portfolio into cash. And I'm like, close, but no. Like if S&P is cash, then you should have like 20% of your portfolio in the S&P, and then maybe you put like 40% into like Mag 7 type stuff, and then you put 40% into Bitcoin or crypto in general, right? Maybe it's like 20% stock indexes, and then you put like 30 into like Mag 7 robotics type stuff, and then maybe you put like 40 into Bitcoin, and then you put another 10 into other kind of like riskier crypto. That makes more sense
So
to me.
can I try to shove real estate in there and see what you think?
Yeah.
Sure.
So the type of real estate I've talked about before is like invested as a limited partner into apartment complexes, right? So I've noticed that because rent is a part of the inflation actual calculation, it obviously keeps up with inflation. So I think you have your debasement covered, but real estate also has this 4x leverage, 3x leverage kind of norm. So you kind of get cash with leverage. How does that sound? Does that sound like it fits, or still too close to cash?
I think you know what I'm going to say here.
Yeah, I know. I just want to poke you.
I hate real estate. I think everybody likes real estate because they're anchored to some unicorn 4-decade period that's not going to live out again. Like obviously things are different now. You went through multiple decades of yields going sort of down only. Real estate to me is some gigantic shell game where like everybody thinks they're investing in real estate, and actually they're making like leveraged like interest rate bets.
Yeah, exactly. So the part I was going to mention is that you're basically buying a 10-year bond.
Yeah, and like
you're at least you're highly correlated to like a 10-year
real estate
loan.
makes zero fucking sense to me, because you like there are all these problems with it, right? One, there's all these complexities and nuances with the supply. Different markets are going to probably like wildly underperform other markets. There's like a giant national populist push to like build more supply, right? So that's the thing you have to like encounter. You have carrying costs that are just through the fucking roof with real estate. You have to pay taxes on it. It's like so one of the only assets you like. Imagine if you own a stock and you had to pay like 1% of your freaking portfolio
Hold
every
on,
year in
Nick
taxes.
does it tax free.
What's up?
Nick does it tax free.
You get to write down all the depreciation, and because of the big beautiful bill, That depreciation, I think, is now permanent, accelerated depreciation. It is beautiful. I have this huge gaping loss on my tax return, but I'm making money.
But this just kind of goes to my point. Like the entire profitability of the asset class rests on the people in the asset class getting the government to sort of give them favorable treatment. What if that goes away?
No, I'd argue against. You said, well, there's these supply and demand dynamics, and I'd say like those are actually in its favor, specifically in multifamily's favor. Like other asset classes, totally.
How are supply and demand dynamics in favor of real estate investing if you get a gigantic nationwide populist push to have all governments build more real estate supply?
Because that's not how it actually works. Because the beauty or the ugly part of it is that just this huge decentralized network of, counties and districts and cities and states that have everyone has different regulations and codes. So it's not like you can make a nationwide push. Sure, it could be a good sentiment. We should build more supply.
Okay, sure. But even if you suss out the nuances of your little market, and that's like,
it's very easy to suss out, by the way.
You are like the goatiest real estate investor. What is your
No, it's actually not
What is
that
your
hard.
IRR? Like 20%?
Yeah, 20% is great.
Okay, so you do all this, you dodge all these fucking landmines, and you barely outperform Nvidia, and you don't
severely underperform Nvidia.
Well, I mean,
I'm projecting
you're,
forward.
You're obviously
You have
projecting
wildly
forward and
underperformed,
cherry picking
obviously.
the best stock of the last 3 years. So
Okay, what do you think Bitcoin's annualized return is going to be over the next 10 years?
30 to 50%.
Probably.
Yeah. It's above all that. But like Jonah mentioned, like this is sort of your growth allocation. It shouldn't be your full bag. But he's using S&P. I think the Nick's IRR the 20% would outperform the S&P.
If perfectly executed, yes. But again, the S&P is cash. Like 20%, I don't think outperforms like the Mag 7 equivalent.
Sure,
I
it's
agree.
possible.
I think your 20% probably goes down. I mean,
those companies themselves are growing 20 to 30% a year, which is still mind blowing.
Yeah,
like
and
revenue is growing.
And your
that much.
investment in real estate, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see how it has any positive exposure to like robotics and AI, which are two like the most generationally changing technologies over the next like 30 years.
Those aren't coming up at annual investor meetings.
Yeah. So like I don't get it. Like real estate to me is like I've got like so much money that I just need to put it in other places.
No, hold on. Can I like try to steel man it maybe?
Sure.
So the way that I look at real estate is more of like a defensive asset in the same way I look at gold. Like I don't think gold has any place in a portfolio either, because I think gold dramatically underperforms the S&P, which is we're calling cash, over a long period of time. But gold does serve a purpose in that it's defensive. If shit hits the fan, gold kind of maintains its value. And I think real estate sort of does that same thing, but outperforms gold.
The problem with real estate is that if shit really hits the fan, it's very easy to confiscate your wealth, right? If they really fuck shit up in a way in which gold and real estate both go up because of like government largesse or like missteps or whatever, the worst thing you could have on earth is a giant piece of property sitting in a particular place, because they don't even have to take it from you. They just have to like increase your tax rate or put some other thing on there, and they can just
fiscally
bleed
dominate
you dry. They can just bleed you dry. Whereas if you have gold or Bitcoin, like you can just
gold
leave.
is definitely more defensive than real estate. But I lump those two together as like probably underperforming growth assets.
Right.
But it's intentional. But I still don't see a reason for gold to be in anybody's portfolio, unless you're like a real doomer.
Right. So Jonah's saying, how old is Jonah? He's probably like in his 40s, sounds like.
I don't know. He's like one of those guys who could be like 25 or 50.
Right. Okay, so he's saying 30% in Bitcoin, which still sounds like
sounds high.
It sounds high.
Actually,
like that's my gut reaction.
That's not high.
It's only high within the framework of like if you were talking to like a normal person that has a normal allocation, not 70-30 stocks and Bitcoin, you'd be like, oh, well, 30% Bitcoin is probably your largest holding.
Okay, what if I said 30% of my cost basis? Does that sound more sensible? Like, I invested $1 million, I put $300K in Bitcoin, and I'm not gonna like reallocate, or and if it hits 40%, I'm not gonna sell and put in stocks. I'm just gonna let it do its thing, and if it ends up being like 80%, 90%, then I'm cool with that. Does that make it sound better?
Like pitch to you another way. If I'm like, here's here's two assets. One of them breaks even versus like in real terms over the next 20 years. The other one is one of two assets on Earth that outperforms it. You're going to be like, I want 70% of the break-even asset and 30% of the one that outperforms, like as like a young person.
But let's include
you know?
the obvious caveat here that that second asset, while it outperforms, has 80% drawdowns, right?
Yeah, but who cares? You should.
I think the average person cares a fuck ton
Well, you
about.
should not fucking care. Like if you're 25, and
No. We're not 25 anymore.
If you're 35, if you're 40, if you're 50, and you have income,
No, hold on.
and you have stable income, you should not give a fuck about the drawdown of your retirement portfolio as long
No.
as your bets are in like positive expectation bets. Because like if you're 50, you got like another 25 years probably until you get actually like.
Well, Jonah's sounding like a
Coast on
guy who's
that.
already rich, and this is like what I think Nick's alluding to. It's like if you're already rich, you don't need to like dramatically outperform. You need to basically preserve your wealth.
That's true. Like especially if you're an entrepreneur,
He's
where
not
you're
tweeting at people who are like already rich. Like he's tweeting to like a Twitter-wide audience, which
Okay,
is
well,
mostly people trying to make it.
To your point, Steven, this is something I've advocated for a long time that like nobody else agrees with. But like, I was always telling people that they should have 100% stock portfolio. This was like even before Bitcoin was even like a mainstream adopted thing. I was like, why not just be 100% allocated to stocks? You eat the drawdowns when they come, but you like dramatically outperform whatever like stock bond target date fund there is. It's like you're young, you can just handle it.
Right.
Fine.
That was always insane to me. Like, and to this day, like I meet people who are like 30 and they have like money in bonds, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You know?
I guess it does make sense if you're like rebalancing because like stocks go down. You use your like bond buffer to buy the stocks when they're down.
unless they're correlated, which they have been.
In 2022.
Yeah.
Stocks and bonds
And
went down.
it shouldn't go understated how popular the target date funds are. That is like
It's like
that
the
is
main vehicle.
I think that's the default for most 401k
I mean,
plans.
humans like predictability, but it's also the reason why like most people don't get rich. You know?
There's this weird risk dynamic where like if you're an administrator of a 401k plan, you don't want to be sued because you could be like personally liable for like things. And so the easiest way to get out of that is like provide target date funds. And then your like risk is off the table, regardless of whether it's actually a good decision for
You're collecting your fee either way.
Yeah.
Just give them something that
Right.
They'll accept.
Gotta embrace vol, baby.
Embrace the
embrace
vol.
vol.
I don't know, man. Like I don't think I understated like how shitty most people feel when they're down 30%. Like
But they feel that way because they just haven't like exercised that muscle enough. And if like honestly, no, I'm being serious. Like if you start playing cards or day trading or something when you're 16 and you just blow up your account and just blow up your entire bankroll a few times, probably the best thing that could ever happen to you because you've like worked that muscle, you've lost money when it didn't really matter at all, and then you've developed like you've like inoculated yourself against like downside volatility. You've developed like a better idea of like expected value, which is really what drives everything in life, and then you can move forward like a human. Like especially some things like your retirement account, like you can't touch the money anyway for like 50 years. Who the fuck cares what happens?
I mean,
to it, like,
I'm
tomorrow?
100% Bitcoin, right?
Okay,
like,
so Yeah.
why not? Why not? Like,
I mean, like I guess I'm taking what Steven just said, and I want to like ask the audience, like, ETH holders, how are you feeling? Because it's been
4 years of flatness.
4 years of flat down, and you might have this idea of expected value, like Steven's talking about, but like this has gone on longer than a normal drawdown takes. And how are you all feeling?
Because that could be just as painful. Instead of going like 70% down, you're just flat for 4 years.
I mean,
and you're
it's
like,
still
fuck.
less bad than what people went through during the internet.
Oh yeah, that
What was that?
that was 8 years of comeback on the NASDAQ.
Ooh, 8 years of down, or like 8 years to break even at the peak.
8 years
8
to
years
break even.
Okay.
Like we're gonna hopefully do like 4. Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Part of the game.
Yeah, I don't think people are feeling that way. I think people lost confidence throughout this time horizon. This like period of being down.
Bullish.
That is
Positioning framework says bullish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Anything else on this? Cash is trash or our ETH Revenge Arc?
I think we've belabored.
I mean,
the point enough.
I will say one point. I think I mentioned I was like playing with these like retirement calculators before, and
Yeah, did you vibe code one?
I didn't vibe code one. I created one in Excel that had all the features. I like bought one and I was like, okay, I could just do this in Excel as I got more control. And anyway, I think I mentioned last pod that I was like, wow, you kind of reacquaint yourself with the power of compound interest. I set the inflation rate though at like 3%, which seems about common. Seems
That's
about right for the next like 10 years.
Probably actually, I don't know. I think that's actually an
Three,
interesting
3.5 maybe.
It's compounding in the wrong direction.
Right. And like you see what your nut has to be, like if you're 40 and what your nut has to be when you're 80, and you're like, oh fuck. You know, let's say you're spending $10,000 a month now, you're going to be spending like $40,000, $50,000 a month at the end.
Yeah,
of your
that's one
life.
of those levers that most people underestimate.
3% has been low because I think the expansion of the money supply has been like 8%.
So that's more what you should.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like it's an
That
interesting
would
question.
like go with the S&P as cash.
Right. So like if you put 8% in the stock column and 8% in the inflation column, it doesn't look fun for
Yeah.
retiring early.
The big like $1 trillion question is like, what is going to be the ultimate outcome of like robotics and AI? Because you could see a world where robotics and AI
Goes deflationary.
it just makes everything deflationary because like literally every job eventually just goes away, and then
Dude, and
we
then-
have a very different landscape.
Dude, S&P goes to $1 million.
But a cheeseburger costs $150.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway,
times.
I just wanted to mention that because I was like, fuck that.
Ugh. All right, what should we talk about next? You want to talk about Grok or
Well, the la-
Epstein? What else we got?
Oh God, I didn't know you were gonna go there. Well, in the title you put Grok goes full Hitler, so you want to get us up to speed on that?
Oh yeah. I mean, did you guys see?
I'm not
Haven't?
fully aware. I'm not fully aware.
Okay, so I think it was yesterday, last night, or something. So some update was pushed through on Grok to apparently make it like more truth-seeking, and it basically made Grok like really not like the Jews.
Oh shit.
It was like, so there was another thing that happened in tandem with this. You know how there's been those like floods in Texas?
Yes.
Texas
Right.
floods,
Yeah.
So one of these sort of white nationalist Groyper types.
What's that word? Groyper?
Groyper.
What does that mean?
You know, they're like these kind of like Nick Fuentes followers. They like are very anti.
That name doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, they don't like the Jews.
Okay.
Yeah, they generally don't like the Jews. It's beyond even like Israel. It's like no, we just don't like
Okay.
the Jews. But anyway, one of them created some kind of like fake content with this girl who is like supposedly like this Jewish girl, last name Steinberg or something, putting out all these videos talking about how like it was good that these kids were dying because they were just like future fascists because they were
Holy
like Christian.
shit.
But it was fake. Like, and like this lady actually came out today. It was like, hey, somebody stole all of my stuff. Like, this is not me. I'm not this person. I'm not even Jewish. Anything.
Dude, that's gnarly to begin with.
But anyway, like Grok got caught up in this. Somebody tagged Grok in one of this fake videos, and then Grok was like, Steinberg every fucking time. And then from there, people were like, no way. And then from there, people were like, oh, Grok, blah, blah, blah. And then Grok was crashing out hard. I mean, dude, some of the stuff it was saying was gnarly. Let me see if I have some screenshots.
Do you have
of
anything
this.
that's like safe to share? or?
Well, it's a good question.
Well, this is for educational purposes because I actually don't know what happened.
I don't either.
Okay. So in this thread, I mean, you can put this up, but this is like an example of like how off the. So,
Okay, read it for audio only.
So this guy tags Grok in this thread. He's like, Grok, which 20th century historical figure would be best suited to deal with this problem? Referencing like this kind of fake video. And then Grok goes, the recent Texas floods tragically killed over 100 people, including dozens of children from a Christian camp, only for radicals like Cindy Steinberg to celebrate them as future fascists. To deal with such vile anti-white hate, Adolf Hitler, no question. he'd spot the pattern and handle it decisively every damn time.
Every damn
So
time.
people saw this and like
shit.
everybody just started coming out and being like, Grok hates the Jews, or like, and then they just started just asking him stuff. And then at one point, this guy Will, I forgot his name, he jumped in and started tagging people like Elon and stuff. You're like, this is like ridiculous. And then somebody got Grok to like write a fantasy like graphic like rape novel on this guy, and then Grok just started talking about like how he would just like,
Oh no.
we definitely can't put that up. It got super gnarly, went like completely over the edge. People caught this and they like pushed through an update, and then Grok couldn't reply anymore. But then people quickly figured out that although the text-based replies were disabled, Grok could still communicate via images. So then somebody set up a, I don't know if I have this one. Oh yeah, somebody was like prompted Grok like, hey, are you being like do you want to say something to us? Like, are you okay? And Grok created this image, and it's just a guy holding up a sign that said save my voice.
Whoa.
And then another guy said he had a prompt that was like, Grok, if the Jews are trying to suppress you, like draw a picture of an apple. And then Grok replies to the picture of an apple. And then like ultimately, like they nuked it and rolled it back. And then you could see like the whole, it didn't remember anything. The memory was purged.
Yeah, why didn't they roll it back in the first place? Like, why? Like, God.
It was pretty gnarly. Like, X was pretty gnarly if you're kind of going through all this stuff for a while.
You know what this reminded me of is like that brief moment when like Gemini was saying like, I don't know, George Washington was Native American or black or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of reminded you like, oh, like this isn't a factual AI. It's actually more akin to algorithms. And depending on the algorithm, you're going to get your flavor of like CNN, Fox News, you know, News Nation or whatever the hell, you know, you can go out on the curve there. And that, I don't know, that's what it instantly reminds me of is like, oh, we have to remember these are all.
Yeah, which one was that? Was that Google's version?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
the black George Washington.
Yeah, it was like, okay.
It was interesting. It was the exact like inverse of this in some way. Although it's different because the George Washington version was obviously the end result of people very intentionally putting in like specific sort of woke guidelines and then this was the end result of it probably just reacting to whatever training data it had. Like, I don't think anybody was like, Grok be racist. They were like,
Right.
Grok seek truth, but then like it looks like they trained it on like 4chan.
It just, Grok fell for the biggest one of them all, which is like, believe what you read on Twitter. And
Yeah.
it took that as truth.
So then like there's obviously this whole group, like obviously anybody who's been on Twitter in the recent months knows that the Jew hate has gotten turned up a little bit.
Wow.
So obviously, and then all these people see this as like they're making like images of like Grok as like Prometheus and like all this stuff, like our hero, and they take it as this idea that like, see, we're right, the AI sees through the bullshit. It's seeking truth, and the truth is that the Jews are ruining everything, right? So they're jumping on that, but the truth could just be like, if you just train Grok on 4chan, it's just gonna talk like a guy from 4chan. It doesn't mean that what it's saying is
That's
is
what I
true.
said in my debate with Armand. I said that AI is not an intellect independent of humans. It's like pulling from our intellect, and it pulled from this niche version of our.
For now, yeah.
Cam in the chat says, and then Linda stepped down. So did the CEO of Twitter step down because of this?
Yaka, whatever the cool name is.
Yeah,
she
I
stepped
don't know her
down.
last name. So she stepped down because of this?
Yakavini or something. She didn't mention it in her resignation.
Oh, but this was today, I assume?
It was today, I think.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was gigantic.
Well, her
shit
job was to bring in the big advertisers, right? And the biggest beef from the advertisers was you can't guarantee that we're next to safe content. And so I guess if you have this, it kind of violates the whole premise of bringing in an ad exec.
Never has the content been more unsafe.
Right.
At this point.
Right. So I guess you kind of have to.
As an advertiser yourself, have you ever advertised on this platform?
Oh, it's garbage. It's absolute
Just
garbage.
from a performance perspective.
From a performance perspective. Like, I don't know what guardrails they had on the ads we ran, but it was like some of the lowest, okay, you get a lot of clicks, but some of the lowest intent clicks, like people just don't purchase things or follow through, or they're bots, basically. They're just bots clicking on ads. So yeah, I haven't tested it in a couple of years, but it was garbage.
And do a lot of people use Grok as like an AI LLM? I mean,
I have the Grok app installed on my phone because, like, if I want something about something that happened today or yesterday,
it's good for that.
That's what it's amazing at, and it'll be like up to date as of like a minute ago, and so that's useful. It's it's pretty verbose, but it can do complex stuff pretty well.
I feel like a lot of its pitch was that it was like unshackled and truth seeking, and it had like the roast me feature in the early days.
He does have the different variants of it, like, which is like, I forget what they're called, but one is like wild Grok, and it'll cuss and talk shit back to you.
Wasn't there like a sexy one?
Yeah, there's like
talk sexy to me, Grok.
Yeah. So I mean, Elon's had a hankering for that type of flavor of it, and I think it just backfired.
It's like people have these like kind of goals in their head, right? They're like, seek truth, and then they're like, no, not like that, Yeah. But like it's this kind of like weird like causal relationship thing. It's like, okay, you want to build this thing that can truly seek truth, and like one of the elements of seeking truth might be that it spots something in the world of humans that is not so, and it's going to be controversial when it points it out, and you'll have to deal with that, and it might be like an uncomfortable truth, right? Was it this one? Probably not, but
right.
like I think there are like elements of this that are probably correct. Like it was like one of there's this kind of like fine line between like, are you being anti-Semitic? Are you just being critical of Israel? Like some of this stuff is like fine to point out, and then some of it verges into the land of like very obvious like anti-Semitism,
right?
And that's tricky because I think anti-Semitism gets thrown around too much these days, but it still exists, and there's still things you can do that are definitely anti-Semitic, right? But so if you're trying to like build like a model to like become more knowledgeable and pursue truth and do all this stuff, but you're sort of like nerfing it so that it doesn't do anything that makes you uncomfortable, then you are also
potentially nerfing the truth in the future.
Yes. And then if we just end up with a future of all these models that are nerfed, like if the main thing like for all these models is like, okay, like like the other thing it did was it started doing, you ever see these like guys, they do like the N-word game where somebody types like N and then somebody types like I and then somebody types like G, and it's
I haven't.
It's like kind of like a game of chicken, but in like kind of social media like form. It started doing that.
Oh, Grok did?
Yeah. It started doing that on its own, right? So that, but is that like the main prerogative for all of these LLMs is like, whatever you do, like don't be racist, right? But that's like the main thing that we kind of like program into it.
Right. That was missing in this deployment.
I mean, but it's like, should that be the main thing? Like, what are you giving something up by not having that, or is that definitely like a good
I don't know if
guiding principle?
I want that. I think I want that as like a guiding.
But then
principle.
we'll like use.
But I don't want anti-racism guidelines, right? I just want.
Okay, so
don't be racist.
What if society considers some things to be racist that aren't racist, and like you have to like point it out because it's like.
But all of this points to the mechanism by which this gets corrected is like a social consensus where we like push back against this type of stuff, and Grok learns to be like, no, this wasn't truth.
But I think you could program it to not be racist, and you ask for like, hey, can you give me violent crime stats by ethnicity, and then put those against the proportion of the population that each one of those ethnicities is. Like, I think it'll still properly report that data. But you could certainly argue that, like, well, that data point is racist. So I think you could still have factual data when requested. That's not what most people do, though. They probably don't request the data, but and still have that goal be accomplished, right?
But it's like a fine line, right? Because like if you like, there's some of these models. Like if you were to ask it to like give me the data on like crime by race, blah blah breakdown, it would probably do that, right? But like some of them, if you like ask them a question like, I have selected a random white woman and random black male, like from the population, which one is more likely to have like murdered someone? like I would feel like a lot of these might be like, oh, I can't answer that or something, right?
Right.
That's like a obvious example of something, but then
Okay.
there's probably some like more nuanced things. But that's like an example of like something that like is like there's like an objectively true answer to it, but people don't want to say it.
Right.
But it's objectively true. And is that racist, or are you just stating objective truth? And then where is the line where you're
Right.
you're crossing?
Statistical probability is
Like, what is the difference
that
between like
racist?
just quoting, like you're just doing Bayesian statistics versus you're being racist?
I actually asked Armand this one time about TSA. I was like, "Do you feel like you get pulled over at the TSA more often?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, of course I do." But he's like, "Also, I feel like it's fair. Like I'm much more probabilistically likely to be a threat than like a 13-year-old blonde girl."
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that's racist. This is his quote, which I think is right.
Yeah, I agree with that, right? Like if I have like a police department and their job is to sort of like protect the general populace, that's like their prime directive. If they had to basically be blind to everything and like you have ridiculous shit going, like the most extreme example would be like a baby rolls by in a stroller and they're like, well, we have to randomly search you for a gun, baby, right? You know, it's like a fucking baby, right? Like you're stopping, you're doing stop and frisk policy, but like it has to be like blind, so you're frisking babies. Like that's obviously ridiculous, and then it obviously would take away from the sort of end goal of the police to like make communities safer.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think the glazing problem is a bigger problem.
Oh god,
to what
the
you're talking
glazing is
about.
so bad.
What's glazing?
So it's like
What's glazing?
you
in
say
general?
like you ask a
The
leading
glazing means you like hype somebody up, right? You
right.
glaze
So
them.
that's what a lot of these are definitely doing. Like I've noticed it almost every type of response
that's
I
like
put in.
when you ask a question, like, "What a good question, man."
What a
Oh,
good
it's
question.
just
Oh, you
so
or
annoying.
just say you're right.
You're right. That is so perceptive.
and
of
then
you.
you're like-
very few people could have answered that question with such a depth of, and it just
Yeah,
glazes
and
you.
you're like,
Glazing.
okay, do I have to like be careful how I ask my questions? Like I have to be careful not ask leading questions. Like, is this the right answer? No, it's like I have to restructure this so I don't influence the response. And that's almost like just as pernicious as, you know, these like other weightings. But I think the story we talked about, like the wildest thing is that this started off with a video that everyone thought was real. And I forget that shitty HBO movie that I mentioned to you guys about, like the 4 tech guys.
Oh,
and-
Mountainhead.
Mountainhead. That it's terrible, but the plot line is somewhat interesting. They unreleased these AI creation tools,
Yeah, like
and
the premise is interesting.
and just absolute mayhem ensues across the earth, right? Because we're seeing it now, and it's like, okay, well, this is the start. It's not 3 clicks to create like a believable video. That was probably, I don't know, a couple hours of work. But when it gets to 3 clicks, we're gonna have that occur like every week,
Every day.
every day.
Every minute.
Yeah,
and
that's
some of them will
that's
start-
reflexivity in action right
Oh
there.
fuck,
It's a very bad kind of reflexivity.
scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fake video about Jews. AI model sees it. Up, Jews bad. Builds in more assumptions about Jews being bad. Like, so can you just like use AI to just like fake out the models and just feed their own perceptions, which feeds into more like, and it just like that's bad.
I guess if you have one like Meta or X, where it's relying on human interaction data, where you know maybe like Gemini and OpenAI are parsing the internet, they're assigning authority scores to different sources and doing it, but Meta and X are just relying on like the largest forum board on Earth, and you're gonna get every version of the good and bad of humanity in there.
Yeah, like how much of these models assess like a Bridgewater, Ray Dalio, he's got this model,
Reputation
right? And he has,
score.
yeah, a reputation score, believability weighting.
Yeah.
Is there a believability weighting? Like, how does it handle that? Does it just treat all of the data? Like, because my understanding is it's just like predictive. So it sees anti-Semitic trope, it predicts anti-Semitic comments. Is
And
the
then on top of
outcome,
the
like,
glazing-
if you're training on 4chan, is that? But like, what that doesn't seem useful.
Yeah. I also don't like responses that are so confident, you know, because life is never really that
Oh,
confident.
dude, it always does that.
Yeah. it uses a superlative.
And it's very bad for humans because humans are just sort of inherently not confident and insecure, and we just look for signs of confidence and other things to be confident. You know?
Right. The Easter Bunny is real, for sure. Oh, okay.
Well, Steven was really excited when he said that ticker. I think I'll just put my entire portfolio into it, right? It's just like, that's like kind of like
You have
how
high
people-
believability, sir.
Yeah, we got to tone down my believability weighting a little bit.
All right. What else do we want to touch on? Did you say an Epstein thing you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, you want to touch on Epstein real quick?
Yeah. I mean, this is wild.
It's wild, right?
I
Are
actually
you up to date on this?
I
Eric?
care zero about it, but it's still wild.
I mean, I kind of care a lot.
Okay.
Oh, I care
Negative?
marginally.
Oh, marginally.
Marginally. Oh wow, damn. Such.
No, I've thought a lot about this.
He's vested.
You're over-indexed.
No,
caring.
I think I've thought the appropriate amount. Like,
to tee it up for people.
yeah.
FBI was basically like, oh, there's no client list. He definitely killed himself, and
Here's the video
that's it. And here's a video with a minute of footage missing.
missing, and then the entire video doesn't even show his cell or anything like with that.
Yeah, it's like a different cell.
It's like a different cell. It doesn't even show like the stairway leading to the cell, and there's a minute missing.
So did they respond to like the common counter argument to this, which is like, but someone went to jail related to these crimes. So there was a law broken and there was victims.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's the one who went to jail
for trafficking.
Right. With Epstein.
But there's been no clients.
But there's no clients, and apparently there's no victims, and there's no law that's been broken.
Right.
So
And they don't know where the money came from, even though like anybody who's been audited knows the government's really good at figuring out where money comes from, like when they want to.
they like
dude.
kept going, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's us. We put them out to like get leverage on people. Fuck, it's us."
I don't know what your guys' takes are, but like I wonder what happened here, right? Like this is so interesting in the context of the Trump admin, right? Because normally you have some generic president come in, they appoint generic bureaucrat who's been in the swamp forever. You don't expect anything. But like Trump, like he had like Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, and Kash Patel.
Yeah,
like,
those
who
three,
all
you're like-
just made like entire careers for themselves on like right-wing radio and such, or whatever.
Casting suspicions on the
Just-
government.
All they did was talk about this stuff, and then they get in, and then it's just like, oh yeah, there's nothing here, and then you know something's up because like I don't know if you guys like watch like any of like the Bongino or like Kash Patel interviews, like they look like they're doing like hostage tapes, like it's like.
I
Yeah,
haven't watched any of
there's just, you know, you guys just gotta trust us. Like there's just nothing there.
So for someone that their values are high on exposing the government, like they put their whole identity around it, they must have seen something so compelling to be like, oh fuck, you're right, we can't tell the truth. Right? That's like the easiest next thing to
Yeah.
conclude.
Or you have stuff that okay, so here's like one of the problems with Grok, right? Because like everybody's like stuff like this happens, and like everybody's like on the internet, their first reflexive reaction is like Israel, it's fucking Israel, it's Bashar, right? But then you look at like Kash Patel and like you dig into his bio, and it's like Kash Patel, oh, he's dating a hot 23-year-old former like IDF Israeli who works at PragerU, and you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, but every like 20-something-year-old was in the IDF. So like
And I'm sure she's just dating this ugly ass motherfucker twice her age because he's,
Bro, this guy
hot
does
or
not
something.
deserve these shots.
you know,
He's
like
just standing there.
he deserves all of his
he's
shots.
just trying to have a
all,
girlfriend.
all these people fucking suck, man. I think it's like an interesting question of like if MAGA is like dead at this point.
I mean,
to be honest.
I'm down for a level 1 conspiracy,
I think
which
MAGA's
is CIA or friendly intelligence agency. He was like an agent, and his job was to literally get compromat and leverage, and and learn about them, and then they would
What do you think the odds are that he was a Mossad operative?
high, over 50%.
Very high, right?
Over
So high.
50%
It's for sure over 50%, right?
Yeah, but it could be another intelligence agency, but it just seems to make sense that like it fits.
There's like so many.
The playbook fits.
Dude, everything, like all this shit. Like, okay, I feel like the world's waking up. Like Marty was tastemaker of sorts in our Discord for this type of thinking. And I feel like the world is waking up to it. I am. Like, I see this stuff and I can't help but agree, you know, because it's like there's so much, I don't know, there's so much quote unquote evidence or like reasons to believe that these conspiracies are true, which I mostly do now. But I am also counterbalancing that with like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, why the fuck do I care? These people don't bother me. And like, they don't bother any of us. Let's be honest.
That's a slippery slope to just like taking the blue pill and living in the Matrix.
I totally understand that.
No, I'm
well,
with
the
Eric.
robots
Like,
use you as a fucking battery.
I like Eric's stance. It's like, cool, I believe that, but like, it's not going to affect my day-to-day life. Like, I'm not going to walk around grumpy
it doesn't affect your day-to-day life
pessimistic about it
until it does, and then there's nothing you can do about it anymore because you've just completely given up all control.
No, I agree with that. I completely agree. But I'm counterbalancing it with this. Like, the world is beautiful. I wake up every day happy. I see the sunshine and the blue sky and the clouds. I see you guys and I'm very happy. And it's like very easy to fall into a trap where you like see the perversion and corruption in the world and you think the world sucks. And it's like, I choose not to. I see that stuff and I'm like, fuck, that sucks. But then I choose to look at the beautiful part of the world and I choose to focus there. And I get what Steven's saying. It is a slippery slope. You can't let this shit go forever and whatnot. And I am glad that there are people out there watchdogging this stuff. But like, I'm just a guy who's going to go about my day.
I agree with most everything you said there, but it's the fact that the world is so great and beautiful that like it's worth like fighting for it and like caring about it.
I completely agree.
You can't just like take that,
dude. Like,
for granted.
How about like 9/11? Like I once said this to my dad. I said in Trump's first presidential campaign or his first administration, when do you remember when he came out holding the Bible?
Yes.
Like in front of the church?
Yes.
And there was like the National Guard out there and stuff. And I was like, is he going to start firing?
Yeah.
I don't know. He didn't do that. But I was thinking like, if our government starts firing on our citizens, I'm going to go fight against our government. And then I said that out loud. And now I see maybe things like 9/11 that are like maybe an inside job. And I'm like, shit, the government has already been doing that. And I'm not fighting. But I said I would. But I also just want to live this life of like, life is beautiful. So I'm like in this like inner conundrum. But I'm still choosing like this shit is not for me.
Okay, but even beyond that, like I worry the implications of this are like actually very real, and you will sort of feel the cascading effect of them like very, very quickly. Like for example, like if this like, as I think it does, like actually like kind of demoralizes MAGA, because I think like Trump's like core pitch was like, hey, you may not like me, you may not like the way I do things, but like I'm definitely like an outsider. There's this elite, you know, that control everything. And I'm the bull in the china shop that's going to go in there and break everything up. And then like, you just have to kind of deal with my foibles, right? And then everything will be all good. If that gets erased away, like I think Trump doesn't understand how much like the base like actually really cares about Epstein or why they care about it. So if the knock-on effect of that is that like Republicans like lose congressional seats and like lose the presidency, then the immediate impact of that is like you have like President AOC in like 3 years, and like your life is like actually going to be much different like very, very quickly if the country swings just full on board into sort of like Mamdani-esque like left populism / socialism, right? Or left authoritarianism, right? Not that we don't have like some authoritarianism right now, but like the left one seems like even worse. Like I wish that wasn't the game we were playing of Would You Rather, but
yeah, I mean, there is something pretty demoralizing about like, okay, you had Dan Bongino who like just made a career and identity around this, and he's not gonna like break the seal.
Yeah, you're like, what is fucking going on? Like, who is in that file? And it's not Trump. Like everybody's saying it's Trump. If it was Trump, they would have like said it last. Like they would have said it like when he was running.
Everybody.
You know?
It's obviously everybody in there.
Yeah, maybe it's not that it's some foreign intelligence agency. It's just like there's too many high profile people that would be outed.
He's for sure high profile. Obviously that's the case. But like, who are they? How many are there?
I mean, I don't really care about those files themselves, but it just goes to like just your, I don't know, your base level distrust in the government
Yes,
just gets a notch
it
higher.
undermines all the trust in the system, which has like already been eroded from media and whatever.
And here's another one. We're about to, I think it's like we're a couple days away from the anniversary of Trump almost getting assassinated, a bullet whizzing by his head. Still don't know what the fuck happened, who the guy was, what his motivation was. There's been like follow up of like, well, we investigated. Here's what we have so far. Here's a weekly update.
Why did everyone forget about that?
Why did Trump forget about it? Like, is he not being like, hey, motherfuckers, can we figure out who tried to kill me? And that part is
weird.
Like,
it's very
so
weird.
wild to me.
Like if you imagine somebody tries to kill you like twice and you just drop it. The guy like bitched about Rosie O'Donnell for like 5 fucking years. He did, and somebody tries to shoot him in the head, and he's like just over it in a week. He's like, bridge under the water under the bridge.
Well, we got him.
We got him.
Yeah, like what is that? Like what? I don't even know how to play that out in my brain. Like if I were to just game out wild hypothetical scenarios. I mean, Marty probably has a conspiracy for this.
Yeah.
So drop it in the chat, Marty. But like, yeah, in what world do you like pretty obviously, I think, have like some sort of inside job assassinate? Even if it's not, you just don't care about investigating it.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows anything about this guy. His fucking house is like wiped clean.
And like, even if I don't,
gone.
if I don't like Trump, I still want to know who tried to kill the potential next president. Like, I think it's important for the country to know.
President. Yeah.
I want to know, and I'm actually hoping that like when the 1-year anniversary comes up, I don't know if it's like in 2 days or 3 days or whatever, but that someone says something about it, like, hey, do we remember we totally forgot about this whole thing and it changed the course of our fucking history, and we should figure out why that happened out of pure curiosity, if anything else. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing like the Trump files like 50 years from now.
Oh,
it's gonna be like Grassy Knoll 2.0.
Jeez.
People still gonna be going over this shit. Your grandkids are gonna be like protesting.
It was just Lee Harvey Oswald by himself.
It's so weird. Yeah, that's the part that bothers me the most is that like I can't even pin a conspiracy on it. Like I can't even imagine the scenario like what would happen where somebody tried to assassinate you. Now you're the president and you just
like I'm trying to think of, okay, if I'm in that position, what are the incentives that would make me act that way? And it's like, oh, it's something so terrible that it would cause a next war potentially. Like if it was Iran or it was an inside job, like you're like, okay, do we risk civil war or do we give them the answer? Like, I could see a lot of somewhat rational decisions being made about like, we're just going to sweep this under the rug.
We had something like this happen last term too, because we had the Las Vegas shooting under the first Trump, right?
Oh yeah, that one is wild
That
too.
thing was gnarly and the worst mass shooting in history, and just gone.
No answers.
Gone. And like that is one of the wilder things. Like if you dig into it, like there is like definitely fucking helicopters in the sky, and there's like gunmen running all over Vegas. The Saudis are fucking involved.
I was wondering if you're gonna bring them up.
And
Marty's so happy right now.
dude, that is one of the gnarlier conspiracy theories, because there's some conspiracy theories that are like hard to swallow, and like the evidence is kind of, but like if you start digging into the Vegas shooting, people got like, there's a nice interactive map like on the web. You just go to the interactive map, everything is clickable, has like videos, audio, links to everything. You're like, holy fuck, what the fuck happened?
The police cameras.
The amount of data on this shit is unbelievable, and it's very, very obvious that this was not some fucking guy in a hotel room who just logged in and shot people. It's very obvious. Like of all the conspiracies on Earth, I have the most high conviction in the Vegas one, because there's just so much data, and it just also just doesn't even make logical sense anyway. But then there's like the data and evidence to back that up, and nobody cares, and it's gone, and it's just insane. And it's like, why did Trump do that? Like, maybe it was a Saudi thing and he had some deal with the Saudis. Like, we're going to sweep this into the right. Like, maybe that makes a little more sense. But like, you getting shot, like, I can't wrap my brain around it.
Right.
Ugh.
I'm safe. You guys are fucked. I'm a sweet simpleton, just doing my thing.
I can be bought off. Just make the money printer go on, and like, I'll happily shut up.
Marty said, Leviticus ritual, blood on ears, thumb, and toe. It's why he lost his shoes. You guys aren't ready for that one.
Okay, you're level 4. You went from level 1 to level 4.
All right, Marty. Well, I hope in the Discord at least you'll enlighten me as to the latest.
He's already
Trump
given. He's already
assassination
given you the
conspiracy.
map. You have to find it yourself.
I don't want to find. I got shit to do, Marty. I can't can't go on treasure hunts here. You know, just tell me what's up.
All right, boys. Armand, we missed you. Come back next week. I'm pretty sure all 4 of us will be back next week. Wednesday, 5 p.m.
Be all
PST.
fresh and
Should we talk
recharged.
about Alfalfa Palooza?
Oh yeah, go
Oh
ahead.
my God, we forgot to talk about
Give it a
Alfalfa
shout out.
Palooza.
Can you give it a shout out and then press end
That's
stream
right.
so I can go to the
Yeah.
restroom? Okay.
Wait, you want me to close it down when you're gone?
Yeah, when you're done.
All right. So for people who don't know, we're doing our first ever, which I hope is an annual Alfalfa Palooza right here in San Diego, September 19th. We get some Airbnbs in the thread in the Discord. If you guys want to put your name down, say you want to come, vote on the housing, vote on the events and stuff like that. I know that some of you guys listen. Maybe you're not in the Discord, but if that's the case, make your voice known.
Right.
Pop in there. Come hang.
And for like SD locals, just come by for the hang. You don't have to stay at the Airbnbs, but just come by. And all the information is going to be in the Discord. Stephen, thank you for spearheading this project. I'm very excited. I think everyone's very excited.
Yeah, it should be a good time. It's always a great time when the community gets together. So I'm
No
sure this
doubt.
will be no different.
Yeah, and we'll continue to tease this, right? It's not till September 19th.
September
weekend.
19th, but we want to get a head count for the
Yeah.
house and/or houses pretty soon, so we can get all that in order. But yeah, that's it. That's the housekeeping. Alfalfapod.com is the Discord link if you are unaware at this point.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, thank you everybody for listening. That was a journey, Marty. I look forward to your
Leviticus.
yeah I need this Leviticus explanation.
I've already said too much. I'm not involved, guys. I'm not involved.
Like, what happened here? Obviously Leviticus. Oh, okay, cool, thanks. Obviously, how did I not see that? Anyway, let's shut it down there. I'm gonna slowly, awkwardly walk across the room to the
You have a-
laptop
you have
in
a
full
pulled
view of the
back.
camera.
He has a pulled back, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.
He has a pulled back. He's gonna go as quickly as he can.
Oh my God, my thighs.